Welcome to Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. My name is Billy Alvaro, aka the Unstoppable BA, former billion-dollar mortgage banker gone bankrupt turned professional real estate investor, where each week you'll learn the tools, strategies, systems, and secrets myself and other highly successful real estate investing entrepreneurs use to start, grow, and scale their businesses, creating massive profits, and how you can too. And we'll teach you how to put those profits to work so you no longer have to. Get ready to finally experience financial freedom and generational wealth. Now let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of Unstoppable REI Wealth. I'm your host, the Unstoppable BA, Billy Alvaro, bringing the heat again. It's been a while since I recorded one of these. I've been away in Puerto Rico for the last 5 weeks, enjoying myself, the time off. Decided to take a little hiatus from doing the old podcast interviews, but I'm back at it, back in action, back in Marlboro, New Jersey, and I'm bringing you today Mr. Kyle McCorkel from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Everybody loves Hershey and knows Hershey, Pennsylvania. Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, bro. So went through your bio. You have been doing this business now for 8 years.
That's correct.
Predominantly in the Hershey area.
That's correct. Yep.
And you, offline when we were speaking, you were an investor where you were really just focusing on buy and hold for a while, and then the market changed. Now you've been doing wholesale. Let's just go back, Kyle, 5 minutes. I don't want to go so in depth to how you got into this, but how did you get started in the real estate investing space?
Yeah, sure. So born and raised in Hershey, Pennsylvania, went to Penn State for engineering, graduated from Penn State, and I went into consulting. And so I was traveling around and it was very high paced, made some really good money. And it was having a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it wasn't a lifestyle that I could keep up for very long, especially once I got married and started talking about having kids. So about 5 or 6 years into that, I decided that I needed to start to kind of come up with a exit plan from consulting. Didn't want to go into the traditional 9 to 5, going into an office or a plant or something. So I just started buying rental properties.
Let me ask you a question. Did you take a course? Like, how did you learn to just start buying rental properties? Like, what was your process for that?
So I think at first I didn't know exactly what, I knew I wanted passive income, but I didn't even know like what it was or like how I could get it. And I just started, I guess, listening to podcasts and reading books. I mean, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was definitely one of those first books. A lot of Bigger Pockets and different podcasts and books.
So you just went deep into the education side.
Yeah, I probably spent a good 12 to 18 months getting educated before I bought that first one. And then once I started buying, it just kind of started a gigantic snowball.
I love stories like that. You know what's crazy, Kyle? I've had the show now for a little over 2 years, and I think I've done well over 100 episodes, and 30% or greater of the guests that I have on are engineers were engineers. And I've asked this question before, why do you think the engineers are so attracted to real estate investing? It's a crazy thing. A lot of engineers turn into real estate investors.
Why engineers? So for myself, I was always entrepreneurial. Now I'm not sure if that has to do with being in engineering or not.
Right.
But I think that engineers like being able to look at spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I think we start out by creating a bunch of spreadsheets and kind of modeling out, okay, well, if I invested XYZ in the stock market and paid this much in taxes, how long would it take me to save up enough so that I won't have to work? Yeah. And that math it just looks very,
it's extremely attractive real estate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you look at the stock market and you're like, that's like forever. And then you look at real estate and you're like, I could do this a lot faster, you know?
Hell yeah.
And then you start to learn about different strategies, you know, where you can, you know, add value and pull all your money back out and put that money into the next property. And then you're like, okay, well, you know, I could go as fast as I want. Like all I have to do is just find deals.
So let me ask you this. So a lot of engineers are not sales individuals. They're not a high D on the disc, and they're not a maverick with the PI. Do you know what your personality profile is? Have you done testing?
I haven't done those formal testing, but I would definitely not describe myself as a salesperson.
All right, so let's go into this because this is good because there's a lot of people that, as I'm speaking, as I'm doing these podcasts, you know, stuff on the internet, networking events, there's a lot of guys who want to get into this business, right? But they don't have the natural acumen as a salesperson. They're more geared towards operations or spreadsheets or the analytical. So how did you overcome that process of going from more, because you're definitely analytical, you're an engineer, more of an analytical, and I don't know, I would take it that you're probably a little bit more introverted. I'm assuming, I don't know you from a hole in the wall, but I'm assuming usually those go together. How did you take that personality profile and master the art of selling and connecting with people to start making this business this real estate business turn into a career and an actual business?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So I would say my style is I like to be myself. I would say I'm borderline introvert versus extrovert. You know, I can swing both ways.
Now you got to watch what group you're saying that in front
of. But yeah, I mean, I just try to be myself. I do find myself presenting a seller with a very analytical way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And that translates well if that seller also looks at things the same way.
Okay.
If they're emotional, then I need to change.
Yeah. So do you have the ability as you're going through your sales script, your sales process, to identify the various personality profiles that you're dealing with to try to change it up? Because to your point, if you tried to sell me, I'm a high D, I'm a, maverick. If you try to come in and give me old data and figures, you lost me. Like, I'm just like, yo, close me, get to the bottom line. What are the benefits? Right. So when you're going in, if you're going in with your personality profile, like same with me, Kyle, if I go in and when I was selling like crazy, if I went in with my aggressive New York attitude and I was trying to close and sell people, very easy to connect with a guy who's a type A, but I had to literally change my personality, not my core beliefs, but I had to change my personality to connect with the people I was selling to. And when I sold to, when I was buying from engineers, I knew right off the bat, this guy's analytical. I would have to force myself to spreadsheet everything out because I knew that he wanted data to know how I was making a decision to come up with that number. So you said something interesting. You present everybody with a lot of data. Do you think that that is holding you back from actually closing more deals?
Right.
You're presenting in one way.
I think that's a great point. And I mean, it's part of the reasons why I'm not doing most of the acquisitions right now. So I actually have a sales guy. He's also from Jersey. That's why I was asking which town you're from. So, but he's actually doing most of it for me right now.
Smart.
Yeah.
So you were smart enough to realize as an entrepreneur, you need to bring in those personalities who shine in their roles.
Correct. Yeah.
A lot of guys don't do that. They try to be the solopreneur and they lose a lot of the sales because of their personality style. And, natural salespeople, they learn to adapt and they learn to, almost mimic the style of personality that the other person has in order to become, the ALT, the know, like, and trust, right? People are going to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the easiest way to do that is to build that rapport and to almost have common interests. You can't be salesy. Right. You're like, hey, you see the guy's fishing, like, oh, you're a fisher. Like, you're not going to be cheesy like that, but it really needs to be authentic.
and you really need to connect, but you need to sell them the way that they need to be sold. That's
Right.
the point in this whole talk right here.
Yeah. So this guy who is doing most of my closing for me. I have a great story. So we were going to look at a property together. I had gotten there first. He was late because he's usually late because he's talking to someone. So, but it was tenant occupied. And so I knocked on the door and I'm presented, I'm all, clean cut and professional. Hello, ma'am. How are you? So it's the tenant, coming in and saying hi. But she's this big black lady. Right. And so she goes, okay, come on in and, feel free to look around and everything. So I go in and I start taking pictures. My partner comes and he knocks on the door and she goes over to answer it. And as soon as she opens the door, he goes, "Hey, honey, how are you?" And she goes, "Oh, hey." And they're like hugging each other and laughing and stuff.
Yeah. Instant rapport like this.
So I go, "Dude, did you know her? Was she like one of your tenants or something?" He goes, "No, I just met her."
That's a connector right there, bro. That's
Right.
definitely a connector. That's a good story. And that's how you need to be with anybody you're doing business with. I mean, you're not going to do business with somebody that you don't like or you don't trust. And so that whole likability factor is key to do it. But to your point, you overcame that. I'm sure you were good at sales. It's probably just not your forte. You're more of build a business operator, know how to build this thing and take it off and build wealth, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I have described myself multiple times that I'm probably better than average at sales. I've gotten deals closed. I've a pretty decent close rate, but I definitely acknowledge that I'm not natural at it.
Yeah. But you overcame and you probably took courses to know exactly what you need to do in order to sell, but it's not your natural acumen.
Absolutely.
And like, I put me into an operational situation. Like over the last couple of years, I had to operate the business and was very good at it, can do it, but it's not my natural ability. And so over time, I would start to get bogged down because I want to go out there and build. I don't want to operate. Like operating to me it drives me absolutely insane. Put me in a room and put me out there and have me build a business and forget it. We're going through the roof.
Yeah.
So good. So you have, I'm sorry we went off on a little tangent there, but I thought it was important to have the listeners understand because there's a lot of different personality styles. And so one of the key takeaways is learn sales if you don't have a natural ability to sell, right? Take courses, learn sales. And or if you have the ability to hire somebody the way Kyle did, bring somebody else in who has that natural ability to complement your skill so you guys can take the company and start scaling it.
Yeah.
Your company today, how many teammates do you have inside the business?
So I have like 5 or 6 and they're all, virtual and or, part-time.
Got it. And talk about their roles. What are the roles of the people in your business?
Okay. So let's see if it adds up to 5 or 6. So I have a marketing manager and she is in charge of, keeping the website up to date with pretty pictures. And, she tells me when I need to shoot a video or something. And then she also puts together the direct mail.
Got it.
She gets a small bonus, when we get deals. Then I have 3 VAs in the Philippines. 2 of them are cold calling. And one of them is a lead manager. And so she kind of talks to the leads when they first come in as leads. We give her kind of a script to ask them and certain questions, and then she helps us to kind of filter out the leads and place them in like the correct category within our CRM. So we got the marketing manager, the cold callers, the lead manager. We talked about my acquisitions manager. He's the guy who's on the phone. Once they become warm leads, he gets them on the phone and really warms them up, really finds out exactly why they want to sell, what they want to sell for, and then usually gets it under contract for, 10 or 20 or 30% below what they actually ask for. So
that's a good close.
absolutely.
Is he doing all over the phone, or is he going face to face?
Currently he is doing all over the phone because he lives in New Jersey now.
That's great, man. To get a discount that steep when you're doing it over the phone. All right. So what's the process? If he's over the phone, he's in Jersey, do you have boots on the ground in PA that are going to the house after he locks it up to, look at the property?
Yeah. So it's gonna either be me, or I also have he's like a real estate agent, but he also helps me with dispo sometimes. So I mean, we just perfect example. We just got a property under contract last week. He never saw it. Seller was asking for 75. He got him down to 68. We sent our dispo guy out with one of our buyers, who's like an awesome buyer. We did, I don't know, 5 or 6 deals with him last year. He just looked at it, for 5 minutes, said, "Yep, I want it." So then we got it under contract with him for 79 the next day. So
nice little rip. What's your average buy price in Pennsylvania where you're buying?
Yeah, so our median home value is about $250K right now, and that's come up a lot, in the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
I would say, this one that we got under contract for 68, that's probably more in our wheelhouse, especially for wholesaling. If I'm going to flip it, I might buy it for between 100 and 150, put 50 into it and then sell for 250 to 300.
Got it. And this $68,000 one, what was it? A 3-bedroom, 2-bath?
That was a row home, 3-bedroom, 1-bath.
What kind of rent could you get on that?
It's currently rented for $750, and that's low. The guy who's buying it, he's probably gonna either raise the rent on the current tenant up to like $1,000 or $1,200.
Nice.
Or just have the tenant move out and rent it for $1,200 or $1,300.
I want to switch gears for a second. I want to talk about some of the struggles you had when you were going from single solopreneur to growing the business. Like, what were the struggles that you were facing with trying to grow the company? Even now, like, what are the actually, let's talk about now with like real time. What struggles are you facing in your business today?
Yeah.
With the current, the market where it's at, the people, the marketing, like what's happening with that?
Yeah, this is good. We're like digging right into it. So my number one focus, and me and my partner, it's another partner, he's a contractor, but our number one focus is buy and hold multifamily. So if we're not buying multifamily buildings, then we get really antsy, and we have not closed on one in about 12 months.
Yeah.
So that is my just number one thing that keeps me up at night. So it's number one, not finding my own deals that pencil, that will cash flow, or there's enough room to add value for the last 12 months. The other thing is the deal flow in general. So even on the wholesaling side, the deal flow has really come down.
It's got tight
to the point where it's tough to continue to market the same way that we've been marketing. So I, as a business owner, I'm having to make a lot of tough calls, including looking at, okay, do we need to cut back on hours? Do we need to cut back on headcount?
Yeah.
Do we need to cut back on, direct mailing, which is still our main source of deals. And then if that happens, then it's like, okay, well then we're,
out of business.
We're not going to get deals in 3 to 6 months.
So Kyle, I would caution you, right? And I'm having this conversation because I know there's a lot of people out there with the way the market's shifting. A lot of people are struggling. Like, I know some solopreneurs that are just out, and I know some big ass players that are bleeding like crazy right now nationally. One of the things I would caution against, definitely cost cutting number one thing. You want to go in and cost cut everything that you can to eliminate the fat, but do not cut your marketing. If the marketing is working, I would double down on the marketing. Don't pull back. Those who get afraid when the market starts to get turbulent, the first thing they look at, and I don't know why, they look at, let me cut the marketing, because it's usually the biggest expense. So if you're going to do anything, look at your marketing. I know you said you're doing direct mail, you're doing some telemarketing, whatever other legs you have in your marketing funnel. I would look at those legs and I would say, okay, what is my return on each one of these legs that I'm getting? And anything that's like lower than a 3.5, a 2.5, I would whack out, and I would double down and know that you're getting 3, 4, and 5 times your return.
Right.
The marketing is where you're going to make your money. Like when the market shifted last May, we put our foot on we took our foot off the accelerator. We didn't put our foot on the brake, kind of assess what the hell was going on. Once we realized, because we cut back our overhead, once we realized our marketing, we have our dashboards dialed in. We literally cut back like 40% of the dead marketing. When I say dead, it was still earning, but it wasn't earning the way it should have. We took that money, reallocated, redeployed it to other marketing arms inside the business. And over the last couple of months, the company was bringing in $700,000, $800,000, $1 million a month in revenue based on those decisions. Still, we made sure we looked at all of our overhead, our costs, our employees, who's being productive. So just, again, I just want to say it, caution you, don't cut your marketing, cut the marketing that's not giving you a return, then double down the stuff that is.
Right.
Key thing. You also said on the investment side, so what are you doing to look for these multi-use? What size multis are you going after? You going after 2s and 4s, 12s or greater? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of 2s and 4s. I feel like we really have that down, for the last couple years. Have really been trying to target larger. So we actually got a couple 5s. We just offered on a 35 unit, which would have been a bit of a stretch. I should say it'll be a bit of a stretch from a money standpoint. But I feel like operationally we could handle it. So, we have 54 units right now. So
beautiful.
Yeah, we're set up to manage, dozens of tenants, and we know the market, and
it's all self-managed.
So, I mentioned my partner. He's a contractor, and so he handles all of the renovations, and then he also handles all of the property management as well.
Beautiful. Nice.
Yeah.
So it's a good working relationship you guys have. He's not partners in your fix and flip wholesale business, just the arm that you guys rent.
So what I do is I have a wholesaling business, and that's where I was talking about. I have a couple of VAs, I have a acquisitions guy, a marketing person, and stuff. So the wholesaling business is like a separate entity, and then I have my business with my partner, who's the contractor, and we do fix and flips, and then we also do buy and holds. So sometimes the wholesaling business will find deals for the other business, and then sometimes I wholesale them to other people.
Smart, man. Smart. I love it. I love the way you guys are doing. So this year you said you were doing about 26 deals in 2022.
That's correct.
And of those deals, most of them were wholesale and fix and flip, very little on the rental side.
It was like 80% wholesale. So we bought a 4 unit and a 5 unit, and then I think we bought 2 or 3 flips. And the rest of them were all wholesales. I would honestly rather be buying like half of them, but like I said, the deals just weren't penciling for myself.
What are you doing for financing? Tell me about how you go about financing your properties.
Yep.
What's that structure?
So, what we currently do is we have obviously a bunch of our own cash, but that got eaten up really fast. And then we have a bunch of lines of credit with banks, and we just, a couple of years ago, I worked on just reaching out to a bunch of banks, and we have about $250K in like lines of credit, which were really good when rates were low. But now those rates have really come up. And then the other big one has been private money. So, when I get a flip, I have probably about a half dozen just really solid relationships with individuals. So, I mean, family, friends, just people who make really good money and have the money, and they just want to make 10, 11, 12%.
Yeah.
And so
To
I'll
settle
just,
the turn.
yeah, I'll just call them up. I mean, the last one we're buying one, I think on Friday it's going to close, but I just texted this guy and I said, "Hey, we're buying it for 79. Can you just wire 85 just to cover closing costs?" And I think I just sent him the address and I said, "This is the price. This is how much, we're going to put in our own funds, and this is how much we're going to sell it for. We're going to sell it in 4 months or whatever." And he just texted me back and he's like, "Yeah, sure." Like it was easy.
Yeah. That's relationship. And that's where it comes about, man. You have to value those relationships like gold.
Totally.
And just protect them and foster them and grow them, because private money is the key to scaling your business. If you want to get into the fix and flip side, you need cash. You're not going to have your own cash to do it. When you're doing 100, 200 deals a year, 300 deals a year, you need liquidity. Bank lines, private lenders, marry the two, fix and flip type banks. You just want to go out there and start those relationships and really keep the business running. Because if you try to take the money out of the operations, you're only going to be able to do a few dozen deals a year. You're going to get stuck,
Right. And then, deals seem to come in spurts. It's not like you can say, "Oh, well, every month I'm going to flip 3 properties, and in January it's going to be 3, and in February it's going to be 3." It's going to be like 0, 0, 10, 0, 0, 5,
yeah,
3, 5, and then, so when those 10 deals come, you don't want to, put all your money into 3 of them and then have to say no to 7 deals. No, like,
right.
You want to be able to gobble up those deals whenever they come.
Are you doing anything creative with the acquisition in Dispo, with financing, novations, joint venture deals with the sellers?
So we actually just, when the deals started, getting slower over the past 12 months, we started venturing into novations, and which they've been great. I mean, honestly, for most wholesale deals going forward, I would like to position as many as possible as novations, because I just think we're going to be able to sell them for, oh my gosh, 10 or 20,000 more if we can list them.
Have you done any novations to date successfully?
We did. We've done 3, and the one was like a package deal.
Got it.
That was like seven properties.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's sweet. What were some of the hiccups that you guys experienced with doing innovations? Because I know it's a little hairy. You got the buy side, the sell side, you're pulling out. Like, you got a bunch of different things to manage. What have you guys experienced with issues with novations?
So I would say we have spent a lot of time focusing on how we present it to the seller, so the seller understands, hey, you're gonna need to sell, or you're gonna need to sign some more documents, and it's not going to be with us. It's going to be with an end buyer. So we've had to kind of work through that. And then as far as getting it listed, and then explaining it to the buyer and stuff, it's kind of the same thing. We just had to be really upfront and just explain to them.
Transparent.
Yeah. Because I mean, if the seller doesn't understand that, like, hey, I'm going to need to sign something else that's going to be a higher price than what you gave me, and they're going to be like, what the heck? Like, I think you can run into some problems.
Yeah. Transparency is the best way to do it. Let them know what's going on, and just make the deals happen. When you try to cover up what the truth is, it's going to bite you in the ass.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, when we get it under contract, we tell them, hey, like, we're going to try to make money on this, right? Like it has to be said up front, like, we're not doing this for charity. So, we're here to help you, but we're trying to get paid, so.
It's a good process. It's a good way to do it. Tell me about, you mentioned earlier about the partnership with your contractor. What's the structure look like with that?
Yeah. So it's a pretty cool structure. He was my contractor, when I was just doing this solo. He was my contractor on a couple of my deals, probably about 5 years ago now. And he is my age. He's ambitious. He's trustworthy. He's got integrity. So he basically, he was telling me that he wanted to build a portfolio as well. So we eventually decided, hey, why don't we just go in 50-50? I'll find the deals, I'll find the financing, and then he property manages and takes care of the construction. Beautiful. So the way we did it is we each put in 100K. So that's how we started. And then we said, all right, we're going to make 50-50, whatever we put in, we're going to make 50-50 out. But then we also said, okay, Kyle's performing services for the business, and my partner is also performing services. So we kind of spelled out that I would make a fee on each deal that I find. So that's kind of like me wholesaling it to my other business. And then likewise, he makes a property management fee. And then he also makes a construction fee. So he charges the company for labor and materials. But then once we either refi or sell that property, he's going to make an extra fee on top of that. So we're kind of paying ourselves it's not really a salary, but we're kind of paying ourselves for our work. So
yeah,
it's one of the things that I think has helped us to do really well together, because, neither one of us feels like we're getting shafted,
Yeah. When you did the wholesale fee, how did you determine, is it a sliding scale? Is it a flat fee for every deal? What does that look like?
I started out doing a flat fee, and then when my marketing costs started going up, then I just had a discussion with my partner and I said, hey, we're going to have to raise this.
Smart. And how do you know on your end, with him being the contractor, how do you know he's charging you a fair price that's agreed upon up front?
He's charging me for just labor and materials.
Which is the whole job.
What's that?
Which is the whole job. I mean, you're only going to charge for labor and materials. So
correct. He doesn't make like a markup on that.
Oh, so he's not making money on that then. It's a pass through?
He doesn't make money until he gets paid his construction fee.
At the end when you refi.
At the end, correct.
Yeah, that's a great partnership, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smooth. And it's working out good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going great. I mean, we've been going pretty strong for about, I think it's 4 years now.
How did you structure the corporation? You guys own your shares individually? Do you have your own LLCs own shares of the corporation?
Oh man, that's a good question. We have one LLC, and then we're 50-50 partners.
Individually in that LLC? Yes.
Yeah.
Good. You guys married?
Am I married to him?
Oh, no. You guys have spouses? Let me rephrase it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Good, man. This is good, Kyle. What could you share? Some of the listeners who are they're trying to go through the growth phase, right? They went from, a solopreneur, they now have 2-3 people. What would you say they need to focus on, pay attention to as they're starting to go from starting to growing, then eventually to scaling? Yeah. What are some of the things that you can share with them?
I think one of the things that I did prior to scaling, and I probably could have done a better job, is I think you mentioned it, is just creating a dashboard for what you're spending your money on. So like talking about marketing, which I've been doing that, pretty religiously for a couple years now. But I think that when you first get started out, you need that dashboard, and then you need to know which buttons to push and which levers to pull. So like, for example, if direct mail is working really well and cold calling isn't, then you probably need to stop cold calling or just not grow cold calling and then scale up direct mail.
And you need to know this pretty quickly. Like you have to have your finger on the pulse almost as it's happening, because it can get away from you.
It can get out of control.
So there's lag indicators, which is going to be the revenue coming in. And then there's early indicators, which in this case, if you're doing marketing, would be the responses that you're getting. And then how many of those responses, leads, are converting over to appointments. How many appointments that are converting over to contracts. The contract is going to be your key indicator if this thing is making money or not. Because we've had marketing campaigns in the past, Kyle, where holy shit, we're driving in a ton of leads, but very few of those leads were converting over to appointments because they were garbage. And then those appointments weren't really converting in the contract. So although the cost per lead was extremely attractive, if we just base it on cost per lead, we would have dumped more money in. But we realized it was actually a loser. It was not making us money at all. It was the worst performing income generator, but it was the best performing cost per lead generator. And so you really need to look at your data and your dash and really hone in on your numbers and really keep your finger on the pulse, because if not, you're going to be pissing money in the wind. And marketing is expensive.
Yeah, I can tell you in my market, cold calling is our low cost per lead, but it also is our lowest
converter.
Converter. So
lowest converter, which it's probably the highest cost. It's lowest cost per lead, highest cost per contract.
Yeah. Direct mail, last year we absolutely crushed it with direct mail. I think our conversion rate overall was like 10 or 15%, or
that's great.
Something like that. Yeah, it was nuts. It was like, okay, we're only getting, whatever, 10, 15, 20 leads from direct mail, but we know we're going to convert, 10% of those. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, if the gross leads, that's actually really good. What is your target market, your niche? Who are you going after with the direct mail?
So last year we focused almost primarily on absentee. So what I found in our market, we are in a smaller market. If we targeted those smaller lists, so pre-foreclosures, tax delinquent, probate,
you'd have like 20 people on the list.
There's like 20 people on the list, and they're so small. It's so easy for all the competitors to pepper those lists as well.
Yeah.
So these people are like, they're just going through this stack of mail, and they're calling like every single one. So we were doing absentee, and then we also specifically target multifamily. Those two have been really good for us. Partially because if there's some overlap as well. It might be categorized in public records as single family, but it's actually a 4-unit. And those are awesome, because we'll still catch it on the absentee list. And then I'm like the only person who contacted this person because, they're absentee, but they don't show up on like a high equity or something like that.
Yep. Are you doing any overlays, any list stacking?
Not yet.
So that might be one of the things you want to consider, like all those small micro niche lists that you have, and you said everybody's killing them. If you start stacking all those lists, you'll start to see like, all right, this particular person, there might be 50 super highly targeted people in your area that have 3 indicators or more, a foreclosure, a probate, fire damage, something to that effect. And if you hone in on those 50, I would go like all in on those 50. I'd have door knockers going out there, direct mail, text blasting the shit out of them, because you're going to get, those are the 50 that they have the highest probability of selling for cash, because they have so many overlays on the property.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff. This is good, Kyle. You're an interesting young cat making shit happen in Hershey, Pennsylvania. How do people find you online, bro?
So I do have a website. It's called Real Life Rentals. And then I'm on Twitter as well, at Real Life Rentals. So
you're a tweeter. You tweet a lot.
I tweet sometimes. But yeah, the website is pretty cool for people to kind of keep in touch. I send out a monthly email. So like I said, I'm a engineer. I like my spreadsheets. I started kind of putting up some screenshots of my spreadsheets onto my website about 5 or 6 years ago.
Nice.
And so I basically just, I kind of lay it all out there and I say, hey, here's the portfolio as it stands. Here's my cash flow and, all the metrics that you would want to see. So I started tracking it for my wife because she was the first person that I had to sell on real estate. But yeah, so then it started to be, family and friends would ask me about it, and I started posting it on the website. So, and that's one of the things, honestly, that helps me keep in touch with private lenders. So people see me put out these numbers every single month, and they see that I'm doing well. And then they start to think, well, geez, like Kyle seems like he's a pretty safe bet, to lend some money. So, so yeah, that's one of the things that I use it for. It's just a good networking tool.
Kyle, I love it. You're an interesting dude. Appreciate your time today, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. You're my first podcast in 5 weeks. I've been on a 5-week hiatus. It has been a great 5 weeks, but I'm ready to get back in the saddle and start kicking ass again back here in the East Coast. Thanks. Awesome. Thanks for coming in today, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Stay on.